All right, welcome everyone. Today's video is going to be about the brand new BFS reel that Daiwa came out with, the Gekkabijin AIR TW. I got this from Digitaka. It took me about 4 days, and that's shipping from Japan to the United States. So that's really fast. In this video, I'm going to talk about a lot of the features of the reel, and I also go fishing with it, and I really get to test out the drag and the retrieve. I catch a really big fish in there, and I also do a variety of casting with lures. So if you want to see that, keep watching. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more information on this reel and also just BFS fishing in general. Oh God, big fish. As you know, this is the Gekkabijin AIR TW. It's basically the upgraded saltwater version of the Alpha's AIR TW. Some key differences. This has 12 bearings, corrosion resistant ball bearings, and the Alpha's AIR TW has 6 bearings total. The corrosion resistant ball bearings is because it is saltwater safe. Some other differences too is that this has the hyperdrive meshing gears that go together, a little bit smoother and more durable. The hyper tough clutch, the reason why they put that in here is because of salt water, the little salt particles that can be abrasive. So they made sure they tighten it up a little bit, and the clutch is actually pretty tight and smooth. I'm going to see how it is better when I'm test casting. There's something else to keep in mind too. I took a lot of different measurements at home between the Alpha's AIR TW and this reel. The spool widths are exactly the same, save if you can see that there's a black lip on each side here. So that really makes the spool functionally more narrow, but the spool is the same width from shaft to shaft. I took calipers and I measured the T-wing system is the same, and the travel of the T-wing system is the same. I haven't seen any line stacking too much on the sides. Like I saw on Tackle Tour, I did see that on one of the forums about the Gekkabijin AIR TW, is that they're afraid of line stacking up on the sides if the line guide travel is the same. So I'm going to test that out here with a variety of lures, so stay tuned for that. Also, subscribe if you want to see more videos with the Gekkabijin AIR TW. And also, I'll be doing a test casting video compared to the Alpha's AIR TW. So let's go out on the stream and let's test some lures. All right, so the first lure I'm going to test is going to be the Creep AIM 46S. It's been a really reliable lure for me, and pretty much a confidence lure for me. So what I'm going to do, this is 4 grams by the way, so this is going to give me a good warm-up test with the new reel to be able to see if I'm actually going to be able to cast better with the Alpha's AIR TW or how it's going to cast. All right, so I put the brake dial on 6. There's a total of 20 settings, but I'm going to start on, actually I'll start on like 8. All right, that feels a little bit over braked for me for sure with this weight. Let me make sure my spool tension, yep, spool tension's decent. I'm gonna back that down to like 4. I mean, that does cast pretty good. I can tell where the control would come from if I'm going to be fishing in like nighttime setting, especially in open water. I could definitely see where that higher range brake setting would be beneficial. Barely any side-to-side play on there. That casts really good there. Having that brake setting on 4. Yeah, it is. It's actually, this reel is really smooth. I can tell the difference in smoothness with this. The Alpha's AIR TW is smooth, but this thing is actually like really smooth, like CT type smooth. I feel like I could turn those brakes down still a little bit. I like a really fast spool when I'm fishing in rivers. It's a little bit different in lakes. A little bit different. Ooh, I got one right here. Did not realize that was going to happen. Oh, got off. I was fishing in such shallow water, I didn't even think a fish would come in. All right, so now my brake setting is on 3. That reel is smooth. It does cast out there really controlled. I personally thought that it would be a little bit faster because of the brakes, how the inductor works. And I'll show a clip of it here. The inductor actually works. It comes out less than the Alpha's AIR TW. So I thought it would have less braking. And perhaps it does at lower settings. Oh God, big fish. Up and over that log, come on, come on. I'm glad I put all that Varivas line on here now. This is a good, it's a very good time for me to say that the drag works really, really well. Oh man. Come up here, come up here. Beautiful fish. That was a really good first test of the Gekkabijin AIR TW. I'm very surprised by this fish. Right now. There he goes. All right, so that was a very unexpected fish for sure. Very, very shallow water up there. I'm gonna see if there's more fish up there. Yeah, I'm actually quite surprised. This line, the reel, the rod, everything handled that a lot better than I expected, to be honest. 3-pound leader I'm using, that Varivas, that shock leader, the fluorocarbon. There's some logs in here. And the reel handled it fine too. The drag, that's one thing I should really talk about that I didn't really have the concentration to talk about when I was fighting the fish. Coming through here, there's some logs, and I was able to see the logs. It's good that the water's a little bit clearer right now, but I was able to steer the fish up over the logs, and being able to adjust that Zion drag star, it was super smooth coming out. That drag wasn't jerky, even when the rod was kind of maxed out like this, and there's a lot of force coming through the guides. The drag played out very, very smooth, and even down here, I was a little bit worried that the fish was going to take off underneath those logs. I was able to tighten it up really quick with that big Zion drag star with the long arms. So it's really nice to be able to have that type of control. I know that the Alphas AIR TW has the same exact reel, the same exact drag star. But for me, I've never had to use it in such a desperate mode like that before. I've had to use it that way with brook trout. For the drag, big thumbs up for the drag. Yeah, I can probably turn those brakes down. I really hate to say this, but I'm on number 2 on the brake dial. And I do have some water on my bearings. It's not that much, it doesn't feel like it's that big of a difference, but there is a difference there. And one thing that I've already tested, I did test fit the Alphas AIR TW spool into the Gekkabijin AIR TW and vice versa. And both spools fit each other's platforms. So one thing I'm going to do, see if these magnets are a little bit different, I'm going to put in my Roro aftermarket spools into this reel to see if it's going to be a viable option for stream fishing, and maybe I can use this spool with heavier lures for lake fishing. Yeah, the one thing I can say, really the only negative I can say so far casting this 4-gram lure is that it seems like the braking profile is a little bit too aggressive. I'm on number 2 out of 20, and it still casts really easy. Now, if I'm using a little bit heavier lures, maybe like a 5-gram lure at nighttime, I'll appreciate that braking profile a little bit more, but it's definitely a little bit more brake than I prefer, but I also like really fast reels, so don't take what I'm saying with too much scrutiny. I'm going to turn it down to 1. All right, now that's more like it. I like that. My only issue is that it won't give me much. It won't give me much to play with. Yeah, there's no backlash happening from there. Here, I'll show you the line winding back and forth. It goes right to the edge and back, forth, really uniform. Well, that's really nice for flip casting, having it down at 1. And I bet once I clean these stock bearings out, or if I upgrade them to the Roro bearings that I use in my Alphas AIR TW, I'm sure that I'll be able to have a little bit higher brake setting. which I prefer. That way, if I have wind, or especially if I'm in a lake, I'm using different lures. It's really beneficial to me to be able to adjust my breaks as I want. All right, so I'm gonna switch lures here. I'm gonna put on this is a Daiwa lupin spoon. It's 1.2 grams, and I did scale test that as well, and it's also stamped on the spoon. It's 1.2 grams, so I'm gonna see how this lure works. Spoons can be somewhat difficult to cast sometimes, and this is also a lighter lure as well. So this is gonna really test this reel's ability to be able to cast those light lures. And I'm going to turn my brakes up to, I'll turn them up to 4, and I'll see how this thing goes. Ooh, that seemed very over braked. There we go. Well, that felt really nice. And this is on brake setting 2, and this 1.2 gram lure felt really nice. Actually, I gotta turn that down to 1. And I'm gonna verify my, I might loosen my spool just slightly, the tension knob. It does feel a little restricted in casting. Even with me, I prefer to have a lower brake setting when I'm casting lighter lures, and I just cast more carefully. That casts really nice though for this size weight. So with me saying that I feel it's over braked, something I just thought of is if I'm in a lake or if I'm in say a saltwater fishing environment, I'm going to be making a lot longer casts, and I'm also going to be just putting a little bit more force into my cast. So I think that the reel itself is not over braked, maybe for stream fishing with these lighter lures, but I think, and I'll get a better test when I bring this reel out on the lake, is I'm gonna see how that braking profile reacts in the lake, because I feel for me with these lighter lures, the reel's over braked. I'm on brake setting 1. All right, so one thing I've noticed casting this spoon a little bit, the reel likes to have a little bit more force, not a lot of force, but a little bit more force, which makes me, what leads me to believe that the reel is meant for more controlled distance casting, not really these short range casting. I feel that when I'm casting this lure, if it peels and has better trajectory, the more force I put into it, this light lure. But also, I don't want to cast too hard in these types of stream settings and suffer from accuracy. All right, the lure I have on now, it's kind of an in-between from that Creep Aim 46S and also that Daiwa Lupa spoon. This is the Spearhead Ryuki 38S. It's a little bit lighter. I think this weighs just under 3 grams. So this would be a good test to see kind of the mid-range casting for streams. Oh, that cast is really nice. Like that's definitely acceptable for me, how I like to stream fish. And just in case you're skipping around the video looking for different aspects, I'll say again, I will be fishing this in a lake setting using a variety of lures for some lake living trout. So if you're interested in that, make sure you subscribe and then comment below what type of lures you'd like to see in that video. I'm gonna try to get into this current here a little bit. This is going to test kind of the retrieve. If the retrieve of the reel is going to be smooth enough that I can keep contact to know what my bait's doing. It's really important right now, especially in the fall time when you have a lot of leaves. Ooh, I think I just got hit. You have a lot of leaves that are coming downstream. And what that can do is if you're hitting those leaves, sometimes that weight can feel like, and the resistance can feel like a fish, and you don't want to be setting your hook too much. You can be setting your hook into logs or just not effectively fishing certain areas. Yeah, this lure feels pretty good. I just really for myself was hoping that the reel would have a more aggressive, a more relaxed braking profile. Just because it is a PE, just because it is PE tuned, I was really hoping that it would be a fast reel in terms of brakes. But it still casts pretty nice, and I would prefer the Roro's shallow spools that I've been using to this stock spool for this type of fishing. Lake fishing, it can be a completely different story, because I know that those Roro spools, I feel they're slightly, the braking profile it's okay for lakes, but it's not that great, I feel, for distance casting in lakes. All right, so overall in my testing of the new Daiwa Gekkabijin AIR TW PE Special, I'll say the whole name, I feel that it is really good so far. I felt that the retrieve was really smooth, and also the drag when I was fighting that fish, it was bigger than what I was expecting with this line rod setup. But it performed really well. The drag I was able to adjust really easy, and it was really smooth too. When I had the drag light, it still had a very gradual start up and shut off of the drag, and also when I had to tighten the drag up, the drag didn't jerk at all. It was still really smooth, and the drag clicker being able to hear that line come out is actually really beneficial. It allows me. I mean, I can see the fish, but once the fish takes the dive, I can tell how much line and how fast that fish is moving. So it is really good for me to be able to constantly keep my attention on the fish, even when I had to negotiate around rocks and other obstacles there. I will be getting this out in lakes, kind of getting it more traditional testing of this reel and more open water finesse fishing. I'll even be doing some of that at nighttime. Gekkabijin is supposed to be Japanese for Queen of the Night. That's one translation that I saw. So I will be testing this out at nighttime, looking for trout, like different trout like splake and lake trout, maybe some rainbow trout as well. So if you're interested in that, subscribe. And also comment down below what lures you want me to see and other facts that you want me to share about this reel.